Hello there! I just wanted to pop on for a couple minutes to talk about a book that I just read, Unequal Affections, a Pride and Prejudice retelling by Lara S. Ormiston. In plain terms, it is a published work of Pride and Prejudice fanfiction. I know, I had my reservations too. There's a lot of published Pride and Prejudice prequels, sequels, retellings out there. A lot of it is dreck, and I felt a little awkward when I brought it up the first time, but having read it, I don't feel sheepish at all having it on my bookshelf and telling you about it because it was really good. In this book, Lara Ormiston takes a turning point in the Austen novel and goes in the opposite direction. She explores the possibility of what might have happened if Elizabeth Bennet had accepted Mr. Darcy's original proposal. I thought this book turned out amazingly well, both as a reimagining of the second half of Austen's novel and as its own work, though of course it doesn't stand alone. You do need to be familiar with Pride and Prejudice to get it. The language isn't a perfect Jane Austen imitation, but it's a very good likeness, as it should be, since Ormiston occasionally works in some of Austen's dialogue from the second half of the book. This could have been a messy disaster if not skillfully done, but Ormiston's writing overall feels so true to the original that it works. It's not an action-packed novel, so if you're looking for a lot of things to happen, you're gonna be disappointed. There's a lot of talking, sitting and talking, walking and talking. There's a lot of discussion about love and marriage, especially a marriage where the love is completely one-sided. Elizabeth doesn't want to just marry Darcy for his money, but she does have a sense of duty to her family. By the same token, Darcy doesn't just want a wife who marries him out of gratitude and receives his affection out of a sense of obligation. He doesn't want theirs to be a marriage of convenience, and he makes that very clear. New questions are introduced by this scenario. Would she feel smothered by his love? Could he be content with her respect and her loyalty? Or would they both end up miserable? I loved the way Ormiston explored this complicated relationship, every facet of it. There were some passages that I thought offered great wisdom in the spirit of Jane Austen, and I found myself nodding in agreement and thinking, that was well said, that's so true. I did have to remind myself, especially in the first half of the book, that certain things haven't happened in this scenario. Darcy hasn't been humbled by Elizabeth's rejection and her sharp rebuke, so there are a lot of things he doesn't know, and he has to find out gradually, often painfully. He has his moments where he comes across as arrogant and autocratic, and some of the things he says makes you cringe. He's still got those same lessons to learn, and this book takes its time with that process. Likewise, he hasn't had cause to tell her the truth about Wickham, so there's still that wild card, and Elizabeth makes her own share of mistakes. It's very much a character-focused book, and the characters felt right. Ormiston makes them her own, but they're still them. Darcy and Elizabeth grow a lot in a way I think Austen would approve of, and the character development is rich all around, and the course of their romance is very lovely. I did a bad thing. I was reading along at the proper pace, the way you're supposed to read a book, and then I peeked ahead, and then went a little further, and then a little more, and I kept saying to myself, stop! Go back to chapter 5 or chapter 7, wherever I was, and read it like you're supposed to! But I wanted to know what was going to happen so bad, and so yeah, I read, or skimmed, or whatever you want to call it, all the way through to the end, at which point I felt very happy, but also guilty, but hey, that's how much I was enjoying it. I did go back and read through it again properly, every word, so in a way, I kind of read the book twice. I feel like I should offer some criticism, so I will say that the book isn't free of mistakes. There were some typographical errors, and Ormiston does overuse a couple words. What stuck out to me the most was her overuse of the verb to quail. To say that Elizabeth quailed is unusual, that verb is unique, so it was noticeable the first time it happened, and the second, even more the third. But overall, I found the writing very satisfying. I was delighted and not altogether surprised to find out that Lara Ormiston, like me, was a Georgette Hare fan growing up. I think I detect some of Hare's influence, especially in the hilarious dinner party dialogue in chapter 20. I think the concept is interesting, taking the pivotal scene and changing the outcome. But more importantly, I thought her execution was excellent. There are several good, thought-provoking passages, and I loved how Ormiston fleshed out the characters and gave deeper insight into their compelling emotional journey. And yes, the romance gave me butterflies. I would say that the biggest departure from Austen's style is the addition of kissing. If you feel like Pride and Prejudice does not have enough romance, well, this might just fit the bill for you, but it's clean. I'm not going to say I liked it better than the second half of the story as Austen wrote it because it's her book and that's akin to heresy, but when I finish reading Pride and Prejudice, I do sometimes have reservations concerning their future, how Darcy and Elizabeth are together, how he continues to behave toward her family, how her lively personality might conflict with his, or how it might rub off on him. There are just some things that feel unresolved, and I think some of us wish that Austen gave them more scenes together, more opportunity to communicate. I feel like Lara Ormiston felt some of the same, not dissatisfaction, but a sense of wanting more, and looked for a way to explore and develop the relationship in a different way, and I, for one, am quite happy with what she came up with. I loved it. So if you're a Pride and Prejudice fan, I encourage you to check this one out. Is it fanfiction? Yes, but I think it's a cut above the rest. There's a lot of rubbish out there, but this is a good one. I think that's about all I'm going to say about this one, so I hope you enjoyed this review. If you happen to have read this book, I'd love to hear what you thought of it, so go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.